Ryzen 10,000 desktop CPUs are apparently going to explode PC gaming performance with some insane new features, and none of them have anything to do with upscaling or frame gen. According to new information, originally from One Usmis, the developer behind the Ryzen tuning tool Hydra, AMD is preparing several new performance management features that could specifically improve 1% lows. And I mean improve them by a lot. Now, if you're someone who watches my channel, you almost certainly know about the importance of 1% lows, but just in case there are some of you, average FPS isn't all there is when it comes to gaming performance. A game can average over 100 FPS, but still feel a noticeable stutter if individual frames suddenly take much longer to render. And AMD is apparently working on some new features to help with just that. The first one is called CPPC Performance Priority. Basically, when a processor reaches its power or temperature limit, it has to start reducing performance. But instead of slowing every core equally, Zen 6 could prioritize the cores running your game while reducing performance on cores handling background tasks. So if you're gaming, using Discord, a browser, and have several other programs open, the processor could take power away from those less important workloads and preserve the performance of the cores responsible for rendering the game. And speaking of having 47 browser tabs open, you're probably gonna need more memory. Luckily, I'm giving away this 32GB G-Skill Trident Z5 DDR5 6400 memory kit to one lucky winner to celebrate the launch of my new newsletter, Meld Bytes. Just sign up for free at meldbytes.com and you'll get weekly PC hardware news, industry insights, and a chance to win the memory kit. And while you do have the option to financially support the newsletter, which I definitely appreciate, it won't increase your odds of winning. Once again, head to meldbytes.com. Now back to the story, AMD is also reportedly adding more accurate information about the maximum frequency of each individual core. Since some CPU cores naturally boost higher than others, this could help the operating system place important gaming threads on the fastest cores more consistently. Then there's per-core EPP boost. During gaming, an important CPU thread may briefly stop while waiting for the GPU or another part of the game. The processor can interpret that tiny pause as the core no longer needing as much performance and reduce its frequency. Then when the CPU is suddenly needed again, the clock speed may not increase quickly enough. That delay may barely affect average FPS, but it can create one unusually slow frame and hurt 1% lows. With per-core EPP boost, the processor could temporarily keep that recently active core in a higher performance state, allowing it to respond much faster. To give you an idea of how big just this one feature can be, the same thing was recently tested on the original Steam Deck. Average performance barely changed, but 1% lows in Civ 6 reportedly improved by nearly 32%. So this shows the kind of performance we might get from this, especially when we take all of these changes and combine them. Oh, and it also apparently adds a limit to how much memory bandwidth background tasks are allowed to use. Basically, Ryzen 10,000 isn't just expected to have more cores, massive boost clocks, built on a new node, there's apparently going to be major gaming advantages as well. Next gen is going to be awesome. AMD's next-gen GPU architecture, RDNA 5, or as we recently saw, potentially UDNA, appears to be moving along very nicely, because the company has now started enabling another major piece of the architecture inside its Linux drivers. New patches submitted by AMD introduce support for the company's next-generation DCN6 display engine. And while display engine patches aren't all that exciting, there is one especially important detail here. The new GCN6 code is directly linked to AMD's GC 13.0.1 graphics hardware, otherwise known as GFX 13, and GFX 13 is widely expected to be the architecture behind AMD's next-gen gaming GPUs. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard about GFX 13. AMD previously added early references to the architecture inside LLVM, but those were mostly basic compiler references. This is different because AMD is now beginning to enable actual hardware blocks designed to work with GFX 13. So we're slowly moving to real driver support for the upcoming GPUs. DCN6 itself also includes several new display features, including a new prescaler that can better handle chroma subsampling video formats like 420 and 422. Basically, it should give AMD's next-gen GPUs more control over how certain video signals are converted and scaled before being sent through the rest of the display pipeline. There are also new controls for chroma positioning, scaling quality, and additional pixel formats. Ultimately though, this really just shows that AMD is making real progress when it comes to their RX 10,000 cards. Here's to hoping they have something huge up their sleeve to really compete with Nvidia. And lastly, I have a massive story about the PC memory crisis, and this is something that I actually talked about nearly a month ago, but it's finally come to fruition. If you remember, early last month, I discussed a story regarding China's main memory maker, CXMT, specifically that the company's DDR5 memory was getting support for much higher frequencies on some of MSI's AMD motherboards. Later on, we saw reports claiming that CXMT was close to matching the memory capacity of Micron, meaning the company is now able to churn out a ton of memory moving forward. Well, today, Lexar just launched a brand new DDR5 7200 memory kit that uses Chinese DRAM chips. Now, they haven't officially announced that these come specifically from CXMT, they just say that they're domestically produced. But in the initial report about MSI testing CXMT memory with their new BIOS, a Lexar retail kit was specifically being used. Plus, Lexar's new kit matches the same DDR5 7200 specifications that were previously associated with CXMT memory. Now, the important thing here isn't simply that China can now produce faster memory, it's that all of the additional memory capacity we've been hearing about is finally beginning to turn into real consumer products. Because even if these kits are initially only sold in China, that still increases the total supply of DDR5 available worldwide. Every memory kit the Chinese manufacturers can supply to their own domestic market is one less kit that needs to use memory from Micron, Samsung, or SK Hynix. That reduces the pressure on those companies' existing supply and gives them more memory that can be sold throughout the rest of the world. And as CXMT continues to increase production, it also gives the major memory manufacturers something they haven't had nearly enough of recently: actual competition. Now, the launch price definitely doesn't look cheap. This 32GB DDR5 7200 kit is listed for 3,999 yuan, which is roughly $592. So that's obviously still absurdly expensive for 32 gigs of memory, but also don't forget that domestic-made products are typically more expensive in China anyway. Plus, the simple fact is that this is great news for the market as a whole. And if CXMT really is approaching Micron's production capacity, this one overpriced kit could be the beginning of significantly more Chinese DDR5 reaching the market. Once production increases and more manufacturers begin using these chips, prices should eventually come down. Basically, this is exactly what we need to see, and it's why I initially covered that story. Here's to hoping even more competition comes soon.